Welcome to After Dark Chronicles, where the real stories come out. When the sun goes down, the truth comes up. Tonight's story. A woman earning $180,000 a year was told by her husband, who makes $60,000, that she needs to quit her job and become a stay-at-home wife. No kids. No plans for kids. Just his ego. What would you do? This is her story. This story comes from Reddit's relationship advice forum, posted by a 34-year-old woman who thought she had a partnership, until her husband revealed what he really wanted. Here's what she wrote. I'm using a throwaway because my husband knows my main account. I'm 34. My husband James is 36. We've been married 6 years, together 9 total. I'm a senior software engineer at a major tech company. I make $180,000 a year, plus stock options that push it closer to $200,000 some years. My husband, James, is a high school history teacher. He makes about $60,000 a year. When we got married, I was making $70,000 and he was making $55,000. We were pretty equal. We split everything 50-50. It worked great, but over the past 3 years, my career exploded. I got promoted twice. My salary more than doubled, and James is not handling it well. At first, it was small comments, little digs. Must be nice to make more than a teacher. I guess my job doesn't matter since I don't make 6 figures. Your company probably values you more than my students value. I tried to be understanding. I reassured him constantly that his job was important, that teaching shapes young minds. That money isn't everything, but it kept getting worse. He started making comments about how I work too much. I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I rarely bring work home. But he acts like I'm some workaholic CEO. Then he started getting weird about money. We still split bills 50-50. I offered to pay more since I make way more now. He refused, said he's not a charity case and that he can pay his own way. Okay, fine. But then, last month, everything exploded. We were having dinner. Normal Tuesday night. I mentioned my company was offering me a chance to lead a new project. Could result in another promotion. Salary bump to maybe $220,000 base. I was excited. James put down his fork, looked at me seriously, and said, I think it's time we talk about you quitting your job. I literally laughed. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He said, I've been thinking about this for a while. You're making too much money, and it's creating an imbalance in our marriage. I think you should quit your job and be a stay-at-home wife. We can live comfortably on my salary. I was stunned. I said, James, we don't have kids. Why would I be a stay-at-home wife? What would I even do all day? He said, take care of the house. Cook proper meals instead of takeout. Keep things organized. Pursue hobbies. Be here when I get home instead of both of us being tired. I said, I like my job. I worked incredibly hard to get here. Why would I throw that away? He said, because it's destroying our marriage. You make me feel worthless. Every time someone asks what we do, and you say you're a senior engineer making 6 figures, and I say I'm a teacher, I can see the look in their eyes. Like I'm less than you. It's humiliating. I said, so your solution is for me to give up my career because you feel insecure. He said, it's not about insecurity. It's about balance. Traditional marriages work better when the man is the provider. That's just how humans are wired. Red flags everywhere, I said. We don't live in the 1950s, and we can't live on $60,000 a year in this city. Our mortgage alone is $3,000 a month. He said, we can sell the house and move somewhere cheaper. Get a smaller place. Simplify our lives. Wait. Important context. We bought this house together. But I put down 80% of the down payment. The mortgage is in both our names, but I pay 70% of it monthly. So he wants me to quit my job. Sell our house that I mostly paid for. Move somewhere cheaper. And live on HI's salary. I was so angry. I said, "I'm not quitting my job, James. This conversation is over." He got upset. Sighed I wasn't willing to consider what would make him happy. That I was prioritizing my career over our marriage. I said, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't ask me to sacrifice everything I've worked for because of your ego." That fight was 3 weeks ago. Since then, James has been cold and distant, barely speaking to me. Sleeping in the guest room. Yesterday, he told me he's taking time to think about whether this marriage can work, if I'm going to insist on emasculating him with my career. His words. Emasculating him. My mother said I should consider compromising and maybe work part-time. She said marriage is about sacrifice. My father said James is being ridiculous and insecure. My friends are split, but here's the thing. I don't want to quit. I love my job. I'm good at it. I worked so hard to get here. And what happens if I quit and we divorce in 5 years? Massive resume gap. Outdated skills. Starting over in my 40s in a brutal industry. He's asking me to make myself financially dependent on him. That terrifies me. Am I being selfish? Should I consider his perspective, or is he completely out of line? Reddit. Help me. 4 days after her post, she came back with an update. The title, Update. I told my husband I'm not quitting my job. He did not take it well. Thank you to everyone who responded. I read every single comment. Some were harsh, but I needed that wake-up call after posting. I spent 2 days really thinking about everything. I made lists, pros and cons. What I'd lose if I quit, what I'd gain. The pros list for quitting was basically empty, except for maybe James would be happy again. The cons list was 2 pages long. So I made my decision yesterday evening. I sat James down and said we needed to talk. I said, "James, I've thought about what you asked, and my answer is no. I'm not quitting my job. I'm not selling our house. I'm not moving. I worked too hard to get where I am, and I'm not throwing that away." His face went completely cold. He said, "So that's it. You've made your decision without even considering my feelings." I said, "I did consider your feelings, but you're not considering mine. You're asking me to give up everything. What are you willing to sacrifice?" He said, "I'm willing to sacrifice my pride by staying married to a woman who makes me look weak." I was stunned by how he said it. Like he was doing Emmy a favor by staying married. I said, "James, do you even hear yourself? You think staying married to your successful wife is a sacrifice?" He said, "In the eyes of other men, yes. They all think I'm a joke. They think you wear the pants. They think I'm not a real man." I said, "Who cares what other people think? I don't think any less of you." He said, "You might not, but everyone else does. And so do I. I can't respect myself when my wife out-earns me by this much." That's when it really hit me. This wasn't about our marriage. This was about his ego and what other people thought. I said, "So what do you want, James?" "Really," he said, "I want you to quit. But if you won't do that, then I want you to at least turn down the promotion. Stop climbing. Stay where you are. Don't make it worse," I said. "You want me to sabotage my own career to protect your feelings," he said. "I want you to prioritize our marriage over your ambition." I said, "What about your ambition?" You could get a master's degree, move into administration, make more money. Why is it my job to shrink? He said. Because I'm happy with my job. I don't need to make more money. You're the one who's obsessed with climbing the ladder, I said. I'm not obsessed. I'm good at what I do, and I'm being rewarded for it. Why is that a problem? We went in circles for an hour. Finally, I said something I'd been thinking, but hadn't wanted to admit. I said, James, do you even still love me? Or do you just love the idea of who you thought I'd be? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I love you, but I don't know if I can stay married to someone who makes me feel like this. I said, like what? He said, small, inadequate. Like I'm not enough, I said. You're putting that on me. I never made you feel that way. You feel that way because of your own insecurity. That's not my fault. And it's not my responsibility to fix. He got angry then. He said, so you're just going to let our marriage fall apart over a job? I said, you're the one threatening to leave because you can't handle my success. Don't put this on me. He stood up and said, I need space. I'm going to stay at my brother's for a while. And he left. That was yesterday. He packed a bag and went to his brother's house. He's been texting me, but only about logistics. Nothing about us or the relationship. This morning, I called my best friend and told her everything. She said something that really stuck with me. A man who truly loves you wants you to fly, even if it means you fly higher than him. I think she's right. I also called my boss and accepted the promotion. If my marriage is going to fall apart anyway, I'm not going to sabotage my career in the process. My mom called me today. Apparently, James called her and told her his version of events. She said I'm being stubborn and selfish, that I'm choosing money over love. I said, Mom, I'm choosing myself. That's not selfish, she said. Marriage is about compromise. I said, compromise goes both ways. He wants me to give up everything. He won't give up anything, she said. He's giving up his pride. I said, his pride isn't my responsibility. We argued for 20 minutes. Before I hung up, so here I am, husband at his brother's house, possibly contemplating divorce, mother disappointed in me. But I accepted the promotion, and honestly, I feel lighter. Is that wrong? Shouldn't I feel devastated? Instead, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Maybe that tells me everything. I need to know. Update edit. A lot of people are asking if I'm going to divorce him. Honest answer. I don't know. Part of me wants to fight for this marriage. We've been together 9 years. That's not nothing, but another part of me is realizing maybe I've been fighting for someone who doesn't actually want me to succeed, and that's not a partner. That's an anchor. I'll update again when I know more. The response to her update was even bigger than the original post. Top comment. The fact that you feel lighter after he left says everything. That's not wrong. That's your subconscious telling you that you've been carrying the weight of his insecurity for years, and you're finally free of it. Another. He said staying married to you is a sacrifice. Girl. The trash took itself out. Let him stay at his brother's. File for divorce. Find a man who celebrates you. Someone else. Your mother is wrong. You're not choosing money over love. You're choosing self-respect over manipulation. A man wrote, as a husband who makes less than his wife, your husband is pathetic. My wife's success makes our family stronger. His fragile ego is At's problem, not yours, one commenter said. Notice how he immediately ran to your mother to try to get her on his side. That's manipulative. He's trying to isolate you and make you the villain. Classic abuser tactic. Another pointed out. He wants you to turn down the promotion. Then what? In 2 years, he'll want you to turn down another opportunity. Then another. Until you're stuck in a dead-end position and he finally feels superior again. It never ends. Someone asked a great question. 1 week later, she posted again, title, Final Update. I found out why my husband really wanted me to quit my job. It's worse than I thought. I wasn't going to post again. But what I discovered changes everything. So, quick recap. Husband wanted me to quit my high-paying job because it emasculated him. I refused. He went to stay at his brother's house. We've been separated for a week. During this time, I've been doing a lot of thinking, talking to a therapist, and honestly just processing everything. Yesterday, something happened that made everything make sense. In the worst possible way, James's brother, Mike, showed up at my house. Mike and I have always gotten along well. He's a good guy, married, 2 kids. Seems happy. He knocked on my door around 7 p.m. I was surprised to see him. He looked uncomfortable. Said he needed to talk to me about something important. We sat down in the living room. And he said, I need to tell you something about James. Something he told me not to tell you. My stomach dropped. He said, about 6 months ago, James started talking to me about feeling emasculated by your salary. But it wasn't just about ego. There was a plan, I said. What plan? Mike took a deep breath and said, James has been talking to our dad. Our dad is old school, traditional. Always told us that men should be providers and women should be homemakers. James soaked that up about 4 months ago. Dad told James that if he could get you to quit your job and become a stay-at-home wife, Dad would help him start a business, a sports bar, something James has always wanted. Dad would put up half the capital, but only if James proved he could be the man of the house first. In Dad's mind, that meant having a wife who stayed home. I felt sick. Mike continued. So James has been working on this plan for months, trying to convince you to quit. The end game was, you quit. You sell the house. You move somewhere cheaper. Leave on James's salary temporarily. And then Dad gives James money to start the bar. I said, but I paid for most of our house. How was that supposed to work? Mike said, that's the thing. James figured that if you quit your job and became financially dependent on him, you wouldn't have much choice. He'd have the leverage. You'd sell the house. He'd take most of the proceeds, since he'd be the breadwinner. And he'd invest it in the business with Dad. I was shaking. I said, so this whole thing, the emasculation, the complaints about balance, it was all manipulation to get me to give up my financial independence, so he could take my money and start a business. Mike nodded. He said, I'm sorry. I know this is awful, but I couldn't let you go into marriage counseling or therapy thinking this was about insecurity. It's not. It's calculated. I asked, why are you telling me this? He said, because you're a good person, and you don't deserve this. And because if I don't tell you, you might actually quit your job trying to save this marriage. James is my brother, but what he's doing is wrong. I thanked Mike. He left. I sat there for 2 hours just processing. Then, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I went through James's email. We've always known each other's passwords. Honestly, I'd never felt the need to check before. I found emails between James and his father going back 6 months. In them, James talks about handling me, about getting her to see reason, about making the sacrifice for our future. His dad's responses are worse, talking about how women get too ambitious these days, and how a man needs to rein in his wife before she gets out of control. There are emails about the business plan, projected costs, potential locations, and here's the thing that made me physically ill in one email. James wrote, "Once she quits and we sell the house, even if she tries to go back to work later, she won't be able to earn what she did before. She be dependent on me and the business. That's when I'll have real stability." He was planning to trap me, not just financially, but professionally. He knew that if I quit, I'd lose my career momentum, that I'd struggle to get back to my current level. He was actively planning to sabotage my future earning potential, so I'd be stuck depending on him. I spent last night copying all the emails, taking screenshots, saving everything this morning. I called the divorce attorney. I told her everything, showed her the emails, explained the financial situation. She said I have a very strong case, especially since I can prove he was planning to manipulate me into giving up assets. She's drawing up papers now. I also texted James. I said, "Mike told me about your plan with your dad. I've seen the emails. Don't bother coming back to the house. My lawyer will be in touch." He called me 17 times. I didn't answer. He finally texted, "Let me explain." "It's not what you think." I replied, "It's exactly what I think. You tried to manipulate me into financial dependence so you could steal my money and trap me. We're done." He wrote, "I was doing it for us, for our future." I said, "No, you are doing it for you. There is no us anymore." I called my boss and told her I'd accept the promotion and the new project. Called my dad and told him everything. He said he's proud of me and he'll support me through the divorce. My mom, I haven't told her yet, honestly. I'm not sure I will. She'd probably find a way to blame me. So that's where divorce attorney. Hired, promotion accepted, house. Is mine since I paid most of it. Husband. Exposed as a manipulative fraud. And honestly, I'm not sad. I'm angry. But I'm also relieved. I almost gave up everything for someone who saw me as a resource to exploit. Thank you, Reddit. You all told me not to quit. You told me to watch for red flags. You told me this was about control. You were right. To anyone reading this who's in a similar situation, if your partner asks you to make yourself smaller, weaker, or more dependent, run. That's not love. That's a trap. The response was overwhelming. Top comment with 60,000 upvotes. I've been following your story from the beginning, and I just want to say, you're a badass. You dodged a bullet the size of a freight train. Your husband and his father are disgusting. Another, the fact that he planned this for 6 months, that he calculated how to trap you financially, that he saw your career success and thought, how can I use this against her? That's not a husband. That's a con artist. Someone wrote, Mike is a real one for telling you. He betrayed his brother to save you from a nightmare. That takes guts. A lawyer commented. As an attorney, screenshot everything. Those emails are gold in divorce court. He won't get a penny of that house. Women shared. I quit my job for my ex, and this was exactly what happened. He trapped me financially. I couldn't leave. I was stuck for years. You just saved yourself from my life. Another, your husband literally wrote that he wanted you dependent on him for stability. That's the language of abusers. You didn't just dodge a bullet. You dodged a lifetime of financial abuse. A man wrote, I'm a husband and father, and I'm disgusted. This is not how men should treat their partners. This is predatory. Good riddance to him. Someone pointed out, he ran to your mother to manipulate her into pressuring you. He planned with his father for months. He wrote emails about trapping you. This man is dangerous. Get out and never look back. The final comment that hit hardest. You came here asking if you were selfish for not quitting your job. Now you know. He was never asking you to quit for the marriage. He was asking you to quit so he could rob you. So there you have it. She thought her husband couldn't handle her success. Turns out, he was planning to steal it. What do you think? Was she right to divorce him immediately? Or should she have given him a chance to explain? And what about Mike? The brother who exposed the plan? Hero? Or traitor? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This has been After Dark Chronicles, where the real stories come out. If you enjoyed this story, the next chronicle drops Monday at 10 p.m. It's about a woman who discovered her sister wore a wedding dress to her engagement party. And what happened next will blow your mind. You don't want to miss it? Hit subscribe so the algorithm knows you're part of the After Dark family. And remember, when someone asks you to make yourself smaller, weaker, or more dependent, that's not love asking. That's control. Until next time, stay smart, stay strong, and remember, your success is not something you should ever apologize